All right, so we're starting with something like a 20-minute chart, or in this case, any kind of minute chart here. So let's see, take a look at the screenshot. And yeah, the screenshot's of a 20-minute chart. And yeah, it looks like we have some signals. All right, just kind of looking at the name of the BloodHound template, see if this kind of gives me any clues here. But looks like in the screenshot, looks like whenever price approaches or gets close to the high-low activator, which I believe is this dotted red line here. Yeah, whenever price gets close. And also, if you note, all the signals are at approximately 320, right? One bar before 340, so that'd be 320. Yeah, so we're getting a signal on every bar at 320. And actually, looking at the second one, it looks like it's the bar is actually not that close to the indicator here, right? To the red dotted indicator. So, all right, well, with that information in the back of our mind here, let's move on with the question here. Okay, so let's see. We're taking a trade depending on, let's see, where price is relative to the high-low activator at that given time. So, okay, actually we have, 3 a.m. Okay, so these signals are probably showing up at 3 a.m. then. Yeah, those signals could be 2 bars behind the 340. Okay, so I guess we'll just take kind of one step at a time. So let's recreate what we're seeing on the chart here, and then we'll walk through the rest. So, if you're kind of new to this, it is a good idea to just take one step at a time. Don't try and cram too much in your head, because then you're thinking of too many kind of requirements, too many conditions, and it really kind of muddles things up in your mind as to what step you should take next, or where do you begin. So let's start with I always like to start with the simple rules first. Right, and so here, this first part looks like what we're seeing on the screenshot. So at 3 a.m., we're getting a signal that tells us what side price is relative to the red indicator, right, the high-low activator indicator. So if price is below it, then at 3 a.m., we're generating short signals, because basically the high-low activator tells us that we're in a short trend condition there. So, all right, so let's create this first here. Let's break this down first. So the high-low activator is a ANA indicator. There we go. So high-low activator U1, that is the indicator here. And I'm just going to use default settings here. So let's put that on the chart. And also, let's switch our chart over. So let's see. I'm going to go with, I'll go with a 10-minute chart here. So with 10-minute bars, I'll need to load a couple of days on the chart. All right, so here's our high-low activator. Let me just kind of scroll back a little bit. So I'm going to modify this a little bit here. 10-minute chart. And okay, so we're looking again. So we're building towards generating signals at the 3 a.m. bar, telling us whether price is above or below the high-low activator at that 3 a.m. time. So, all right, so we can get BloodHound open now. So, use the button at the top of the chart to open up BloodHound. And of course, I already had BloodHound on my chart to start with. So, and first thing, let's put in today's file name for our BloodHound template. So hit the change button. Let's see, yeah, welcome to March already. All right, so we have today's file name set in here, and so now we can start going to work. All right, so I'm going to start working on the logic tab, and we'll start working on the logic template here. So let's hit the new button to start a new logic template. And let's see what to kind of call this. So we'll call this the high-low signal filter. So that's kind of, I think that's kind of the gist of what we're doing here. Is we're using the high-low activator as a kind of a trend filter, to filter out our signals. All right, let's see, what do we need next? Next thing we need is we need to compare price to the high-low activator. Right, so let's grab a comparison solver. So we're going to check to see if price is below the high-low or above the high-low activator. All right, let's connect that in. And also, let me name the solver first. Price is above or below the high-low activator. Okay. So input A, that's going to be price. So we'll set that to price. And then input B, that will be our high-low activator indicator. So we'll just hit the button here. And let's go find the high-low activator. And let's make sure that the settings match what's on the chart here. So what was on the chart was the SMA 50 period. So that should be fine. We can see that there's a couple of plots and a bull series here. We could actually, we could actually use this bull series here as well. But since I didn't know this existed here, we'll just stick with using a comparison solver. So essentially what I think this bull series is telling us, if you look at the name, it says uptrend. So this bull series, I'm sure it probably tells us when the indicator is plotting the blue plots or when it's plotting the red plots, right? So we can see when the lines are blue, price is above the indicator telling us we're in an uptrend, and when the indicator goes red, right, it looks like it's telling us that the market's in a downtrend. So I think this bull series is basically, it's telling us what the trend of the indicator is, right? The trend that the indicator is detecting. But right, so that way you could use this bull series in a threshold solver instead, but I'm actually using the comparison solver instead. So you'll get the same results, same thing, just two different ways of doing the same thing basically. So let's see. Okay, so again, back to the plots. I believe the stop dot and the stop line, those are basically the same plot here, right? It's two plots overlaid on top of each other. That's how you get the dots on the line. So it doesn't matter which one of these plots we select. So we'll just go with the default there. Hit OK, and so there we go. We have it set up. So let's take a quick look at what we have. So we can see we have a short output whenever the indicator is plotting red, and basically the closing price of the bar would be below the line when it's red. The closing price of the bar would be above when the indicator plot is blue. So everything, it looks like it matches up. We can see the indicators flip-flopping back and forth several times, and all those match up pretty good. We can just kind of check back a few more spots. If you want to do some additional spot checking, here's another good spot where it's flipping back and forth. So, okay, good. I think that's good enough. All right, so there we go. The first part done. Now we want to take this continuous output here, and we want to isolate it to the 3 a.m. bar. Right, we're going to isolate to the 3 a.m. bar there. Let's see, the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the threshold solver, and in the threshold solver I'm going to use a specialized indicator here called the time block. So the SI time block, all it really does is it identifies blocks of time. You can even get it to identify a specific bar, just one bar on a specific time, right? So you can identify blocks of time or a specific time, the bar of a specific time. So we want to identify 3 a.m. So let's adjust, let's see here, 3. There we go. 3 a.m. There we go. So 3:00. So I'm going to set my start time to 3 a.m. And so down here, we can see there's a bunch of bool series. Just to, quick info. A bool series is a true or false. It's a computer. It's a way for a computer to identify true or false. So we can see we have some bool series here, and one of them is, it says is start bar. So basically this bool series will go true when we're on the start time bar, right? So we have the start time, we have the end time. So we have, so we're basically, this bool series will tell us, is this the start bar or is this the end bar? Is this the bar that has the start time or the bar that has the end time on it? So these two will identify that one specific bar. And then down below, we have blocks of time. So like the block of time before start, the block of time that's between the times, in other words, between the start time and between the end time, right? So hopefully you get in the point that basically everything here, all these bool series, they're all relative to the start and end time. So, and they're also, excuse me, relative to the day of the week as well. So, but the one we're interested in is I'm using the start time to identify 3 a.m. So we're going to use the is start bar. So select that, and we'll click OK. Now we need to set our outputs here. So this time they're going to be a little different. So we're identifying a true or false. All right, a bool series is true or false. So when it's false, it's 0. True is 1. So when that bool series is true, it's going to output a 1, which is greater than A. So remember, A is set to 0, and so when that bool series is true, it equals 1, and 1 is greater than 0 for A. And so we want a long and a short. So this solver is just marking the 3 a.m. bar, right? So we can see here on the chart, I put my cursor. This is the 3 a.m. bar. So let's name this solver here. So this is the 3 a.m. Bar. All right, next step is we need to group these two together with a AND node. So let's grab an AND node. All right, so there's all that output with the comparison solver. So now if I take this threshold solver that's marking the 3 a.m. bar, connect it in, there. So now we have a chart that will look like that screenshot. So let me shrink this up a lot. There we go. All right, so we have the bars marked at 3 a.m. like the screenshot. Okay, going back to our question. Okay, so we have some examples here. So, all right. So we have this first part done here. So we want to take the next trade long. Let's see. Well, it says here if it comes back and touches the high low. Okay, so Okay, so I take it, it would be price. So if price comes back and touches the high-low. All right, so after this signaling point, we want to wait to see if price comes back and touches the high-low. And so yeah, we do actually have that right there. Let's see here. Oh, actually, hold on. We also have this other requirement here. So we want to check to make sure that price closes above the high-low by one tick. So let's make an adjustment to our comparison solver here. So let's plug in 1 tick, like so. And yeah, so if we take a look here, we can see the closing price of that bar is almost exactly on the high-low indicator. Right, so there's the closing price of that bar. And so since the closing price of that bar is within 1 tick of the high-low, right, it's actually within 1 tick of the high-low. So that's why there's no output there. So, so there we go. So we do have that 1 tick requirement now. Let's just take a scroll back and see if that happens again anywhere. It doesn't look like it happens all that often. Oh, here's another one. Yeah, there's another example. There, yeah, so we can see closing price is literally sitting right on the high-low activator there. And again, no signal. So, all right. So basically this is good. So now, what that's doing is that at 3 a.m. price needs to be at least 1 tick below the high-low activator on that 3 a.m. bar. And there we go. Price needs to be at least 1 tick above the high-low activator at 3 a.m. So, all right. So I think we're good. Good there. I think we need to skip down to the next sentence here. Yeah. So there is a condition here that needs to happen. Yeah, before waiting for price to come back and touch the high-low activator. We actually have this second part here. So let's cut this out and we'll put this afterwards. All right, so we have this done. So now let's work on this second condition here. So essentially, if the 1 a.m. bar doesn't produce a signal, then we want to wait for the next bar. Yeah, sometimes these can be tricky because they require like a feedback into the logic, and feedback loops are not allowed in the logic. So like for example, I can't take, couldn't take that, and then we're not able to take the output of this and feed it back into the AND node, right? You can see it won't allow that connection. So, okay, yeah, I think I have an idea here. So I'm going to use the signal extender. Let's use the signal extender, and I'm going to basically. I'm going to use the signal extender to basically enable this part here where we we want to wait for the next bar, where we want to keep checking the bars afterwards, right? So if the 3 a.m. bar, doesn't, if it closes at the high-low activator, right? Or in other words, saying that if price doesn't close above or below the high-low activator by that one tick, right? If price is right on the indicator, right? Then we want to wait. Then we want to be able to look at the next bar and look at the next bar. So the signal extender is going to enable that capability. So what I'm going to do is think of this as, this solver here is our 3 a.m. bar kind of signal, right? This identifies the 3 a.m. bar and enables that signal. So what I'm going to do is stick that into a signal extender, like so. And so now we can see, right, we've taken our 3 a.m. bar signal and we can extend it out as long as necessary. So I'm sure that 5 bars ought to be plenty. I'm sure price is going to move off the high-low indicator after 5 bars. That would be pretty extraordinary if it didn't. So we have this, right? So we have signals extended forward for 5 bars. And what I can do is we'll essentially kind of make another AND node here. And right, so this AND node, let's call this the 3 a.m. 3 a.m. High-low trend, something like that. And this AND node would be essentially after, after the 3 a.m. I guess we'll follow through on the name here. So after the 3 a.m. high-low trend. Yeah. Now, if we get, so here's kind of the key to our logic here, right? So if we actually get a signal, if we get a signal on this first bar, then we don't need this, right? We don't need these checks afterwards, right? So essentially we should probably turn these off here. Turn those off. So we need to take, so we can take this AND node and feed it back into the signal extender to turn it off. So let's feed that back to the reset. So if we take a look, right, we have the AND node going into the reset here. Let's zoom in a little bit. We have our 3 a.m. bar going into the input of the signal extender, and then any signals coming out of this AND node is going into the reset. Let's connect that up. All right, this is getting a little messy looking here, but let's try and straighten this out there. All right. So the reason why we have this AND node plugged into the reset is the reset is used to turn the signal extender off, right? It's used to reset the signal extender. So now we just need to go and figure out, what resets do we need to turn on. So, and if you notice, look at the output here. Right, we have, so the short, if you notice, the short outputs are turned off. You see how the short outputs are turned off? So, and that's because, remember, we're getting, so what's coming out of this AND node is a short signal. So that short signal coming in this AND node going into the reset is turning off, it's turning the short side off of the signal extender. And that's because we have reset signal, right? So whenever a signal comes into the reset connector, so think of it as a signal coming into the reset connector, that's set to true. And what we also want to enable is reset opposite signal. Set that to true. So, and you'll notice that the opposite signal turned off the long side, right? Turned off the long output there because the long output was opposite of what's coming out of this AND node. So remember, if we take a look at this AND node again, what's coming out of the AND node? It's a short, right? And short was opposite the longs. So there we go. So now this is kind of this is not typical. This is atypical here. Having this reset signal and reset opposite signal both set to true. That's kind of atypical, but that is because and that's because if we take a look, what are we extending? What is the signal what is the signal extender extending? Well, it's extending a long and short signal at the same time, right? So remember, the long and short is just marking the 3 a.m. bar, right? A 3 a.m. bar doesn't tell you if you're long or short. It's just a bar, right? It's just a point in time. So you need a long and short. And so the signal extender was extending that 3 a.m. bar with a long and a short. So, okay. So we now have the reset signal turned off. And, all right, so if we take a look at this AND node, that AND node now, yeah, it's turning off if we have a signal on the 3 a.m. bar. So let's see if we actually, I doubt this probably ever happens. Let's see, actually, yeah, we had a situation there. And yeah, so in order to, I guess, in order to test this, in order to test this, I'm going to have to modify this 3 a.m. time just to test it temporarily. So let me go find, actually, I guess, yeah, I'll just use this bar here. Oops. Well, actually, no, let me go back and use this point because this here is a little more complex. So we see we're switching back from long trend, short trend, long trend, short trend, flip-flopping back and forth. So let's see, what is this? This is 8 a.m. So that ought to be an easy change. So let's just change that to 8 a.m. temporarily. And let's see, where here? It's this bar right there. So, right, so there's no trend direction coming out of this 8 a.m. bar here. But if we check this other one here, and bingo, we can see, there we go, we have a follow-up, right? Follow-up there. So, yeah, so this is working. Let's see, although, let's see, again, once we get the first signal, then we need to turn the rest off here. So, yes, we will need a signal blocker. Yeah, we'll need a signal blocker here, like so. So we're going to use the signal blocker. All right, so I turned all the resets off on the signal blocker. And let's see, block opposite signals. Yeah, I'm going to set block opposite signals, right? Because you notice that we had a short signal, and then the trend direction flipped, and then so a long signal was able to get through, right? So when this short signal shows up, the signal blocker is only blocking short signals, and it will allow long signals to go through. As we can see here, a long signal showed up, so one long signal was able to get through. But I think the intent is that as soon as we have our first signal, we don't want anything afterwards. So we can use this block opposite signal, set that to true, and there we go. So there. All right, so here's our 8 a.m. bar, which had no signal, and then the next bar had a signal. Yep. And actually, I could test this even further because, let's see here. Yeah, look at that. Price only moved like 2 ticks. So this bar it qualified for producing a signal by 1 tick. By 1 tick. But, so I'm going to tweak the settings again here to force even further testing. So let's say we want price to be at least 3 ticks away. We'll kind of exaggerate this. Actually, let's just go 5. Let's make a stricter requirement of 5 ticks like that. And, oh, actually, that's right. The indicator's plotting up here, so yeah, that's quite a few ticks away. Okay. Well, so much for testing that idea. But I'm confident it's going to work here. All right, so we have quite a bit of logic going on here. So let's clean this up a little bit. And so essentially, right, the top AND node, this is only checking for yeah, you know what? Yeah, so in kind of thinking this through here, sometimes you will over-engineer things, and then you'll see that you can simplify stuff. So actually, this is actually no longer necessary. Yeah, I don't need. Basically, what I just kind of realized is I don't need to turn the signal extender off anymore, because the signal blocker is effectively killing the signals, from the signal extender here. So I'm actually gonna redo all this and simplify it. So let's get rid of that AND node, like so. All we need is a signal extender, like that. And since nothing is connected to the reset of our signal extender anymore, I'm going to just turn off all the resets just for good practice, for good measure. Yeah. And let's take a look. All right. So now we're looking at, remember I temporarily changed the time to 8 a.m. Right, just to do that testing. So let's take a look. That looks good. Yeah, so there we go. Our 8 a.m. bar actually didn't qualify, but the next bar All right, we got a signal from the next bar. Looks good. All right. Well, you know, it doesn't happen all that often that price actually kind of sits on the high-low indicator. So, so it's kind of really hard to thoroughly test everything. But we'll just. I'm pretty confident that this is going to work perfectly. So let me go and change our time block indicator back to 3 a.m. So let's put this back to the way we want it. Let's go back to 3 a.m. There. And actually with that, let me scroll back on the chart. Oh, yeah, here we go. So let's see. Is this the 3 a.m. bar? And it is. All right. And let's see. Of course, price is far enough away there. So, yeah, price is far enough away there as well. All right. We weren't able to do, you know, extensive testing, but, you know, at least we did do some testing here. All right. So, this second part here should be done. Let me just double check it. Yeah. Okay. So it's just a pretty simple requirement. So, you know, basically this you know, basically that requirement of waiting for price, you know, so if for some reason at 3 a.m. price is resting on the high-low indicator, then we want to check the next bar to see if price had moved, and check the next bar, and keep checking the next bar until price moves off the high-low indicator, and we then produce a trend direction. So the way that was accomplished was we used our signal extender, and I'm just using the default setting of, you know, extended for 5 bars. You know, I'm pretty confident that within 5 bars, you know, price will move off the indicator. You know, if it, you know, I don't know, maybe if you're trading a market that is basically dead at 3 a.m., you know, like, let's see, what kind of markets could be dead at 3 a.m.? I don't know, maybe some of the currency futures might be dead at 3 a.m. Maybe an actual commodity like heating oil or wheat or corn. Probably there's no active traders at 3 a.m. So, you know, if you are putting this on an instrument that's basically dead at 3 a.m., you know, you can just extend the signals for as long as you need. You know, if you need 10 bars, just change that to 10. You know, if you maybe need to wait for 20 bars to go by, you know, just change this number, however many bars you think you might need, you know, for your particular instrument, you know, to move off of that high-low indicator. So, but I'll just leave it to 5 for now. So with the signal extender and the signal blocker, you know, together, we now end up with just right we end up with just that one signaling bar. So all right. So so this signaling bar is essentially telling us the you know, trend of the high-low indicator at that point in time. And now we can move on to this next part. Let's see here. So, all right. So now we want to take the next trade when price basically makes a pullback and touches the high-low indicator. All right. So the pullback. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just kind of thinking this through. So, so the first thing is, you know, we're going to have to take this signal and extend it forward in time, right, until we get a pullback, right? So, so we're going to go and use a signal extender again. Let's grab another signal extender. kind of squeeze this all together here. And this time, I'm sure we're going to need to probably extend these signals for quite some time. So I'm going to put 50 in there. 50 ought to be good for 10-minute bars. I'm sure, remember originally this question was using 20-minute bars. So I'm sure for 20-minute bars, 50 is probably more than adequate. But if we look here, right, so I took the 3 a.m. trend direction bar, and I extended that trend direction forward in time, waiting for a price to touch our indicator here. So, all right. So now we need to compare price to the indicator again, right? Compare price to that indicator. We need to see when price touches that indicator. So yeah. Let's see. So we can do this a couple ways. Yeah, I don't use the support resistance solver very much. Well, actually, just kind of thinking this through here. So, price touching an indicator is kind of a fickle thing. On this particular bar, I'm going to stretch this open here. So, we can see actually the high of the bar actually punched right through it. Right, so price definitely touched it and it punched right through it. Yeah, so I'm gonna use a comparison solver instead. So we're gonna check to see, so if we're in a short trend, what are we interested in? We're interested in looking at these high prices to see if these high prices, touch the indicator, or if the high price basically, punches through the indicator. So let's grab a comparison solver, like so. And let's see, we're going to check to see if the low or high touches the high-low activator. So let's see, again, input A, that's going to be price. And let's see, for short, we're looking at the high price. We're monitoring the high of the bar for a short, right? Because the high of the bar is what's going to come up and touch the high-low indicator. So for short, we want to look at the high of the bar, and for a long, we're going to look at the opposite price, which would be the low of the bar. All right, next, let's put in our high-low activator. All right, again, we're just using the default settings here, SMA at 50 period. And so now we need to get the outputs set correctly. Right, so if we look here, actually we have no output on the two bars that are actually touching the high-low indicator. So that tells us we definitely need to adjust the output here. So let's set those to 0, set these to 1, like so. Right, now we're also setting the A equals B within 0 ticks to 1 as well. So and in fact, actually, you might even want to say, maybe you want to, allow for price to just come back within 1 tick. Right? So what that does is, if we look at this output here, so for the short, if A equals B within 1 tick, basically that means that the the high of the bar only has to get within 1 tick of the indicator, and that's considered close enough as a touch. All right, so it doesn't actually physically have to touch the indicator line. the high just has to come within one tick of it. All right, so that's kind of one way to allow some some variance in the system. So, but if you need price to actually literally touch the indicator or kind of punch through it, then you can just set your differences back to 0 ticks. Right? Okay, so we essentially reverse the short outputs, and so almost always you need to also reverse the long outputs. So let's do that as well. So what do we have here? So what we're interested in is, in this downtrend, we're interested, right, when price touches that high-low indicator, and we can see we're getting a short output on those 2 bars, which is great. So the long output, we can that'll get ignored here. That will get ignored because if you remember, our signal extender is only extending a long output, right? So think of the signal extender as telling us the trend direction, right? So again, we can kind of rename this if we want. We can call this the high-low activator trend, right? So we have a trend filter here, and then we have the solver that's detecting, right, price touching the high-low activator. So next step is connect these 2 together with an AND node. So let's connect that in. There we go. And connect this solver in. And there we go. So let's take a look. I'm gonna just a moment here. I want to be able to see the 3 a.m. bar. It's gonna, being able to see that 3 a.m. bar is gonna help me out a little bit. The way I can do that is I'm gonna set up some temporary logic here. So what I did is, right, I took the 3 a.m. signal, right? So way back here is basically the 3 a.m. signal. So I'm going to use the sliders here to help me out. And this will make sense here in just a moment. All right, yeah, so look at what we have here, right? If we look, we have like a partial signals, right? If you look at the output here, so we can see on the 3 a.m. bar, at least I kind of have an output there. So let's see if I shrink this up. This probably looks a little better if we fix the y-axis here. So we can see, right, we get a little output, but it's not a signal. You notice how there's no signal on this bar, but at least I can see, what did the 3 a.m. bar give me, and then I can confirm that, oh, right, I got basically a short bounce of price off the high-low indicator there after our 3 a.m. bar. So let's scroll back and take a look. And what do we have here? Oh, interesting. So there's our 3 a.m. bar. So we're long, and we did get a touch there, but prices kept on breaking through, and so we don't know what to do after this point here. So we did get a long signal, and yeah, we're continuing to get long signals basically here. Yeah. But let's see. I guess we can clean this up though. Yeah, we can clean this up. So we do want to keep, I guess, this first signal here, right? Because price touched the high-low indicator there. Right. So we want to keep that first one. So what can we do? We can use another signal blocker if we want to clean things up. And let's see, this signal extender goes for 50 bars. So our signal blocker, may need to block for at least 49 bars. Something like that. Yeah. Let's take a look now. There we go. Yeah, there we go. There's our long signal on just that one bar. And so let's take a look now. Okay, so here you go. A little arrow on our 3 a.m. bar. And there's price coming back and touching the high-low indicator right there. Yeah, let's take another look back here. Great. So here is our 3 a.m. bar right there. And price finally comes back and touches the high-low indicator for a little bounce off that. Yeah. All right. So let's stop it there, and let me take a look. Let's take a look back here. Remember at this situation here. Let's see if there's any mention on what to do in this case. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, at the very end. So we want to check to see if price, comes within 3 ticks of the high-low indicator. Okay, great. I do have an answer here. So there we go. Let's put that on here. Okay, so let's make this a little adjustment here of within 3 ticks. Let's make that adjustment to the system here. And let's see, that was controlled by this solver here. There we go. And yeah, so remember I had put in 1 tick. So let's adjust this 1 tick difference to a 3 tick difference. There. Okay, so now this A equals B is now within 3 ticks. So you'll notice that the text actually didn't change even though I changed the amount. So I don't know, it depends on your Windows machine. Some Windows it changes instantly, and on some machines it doesn't. So I don't know, it's some kind of a weird little Windows thing. But what you can do is just click off and then click back on the solver, and now you can see the text is correct. So it says A equals B within 3 ticks. A equals B within 3 ticks. So for our outputs there, right? So now let's take a look, see if any of our signals change. No, those don't seem to change. No, that one's the same. That one's the same. Yeah, okay. So no changes on my charts here, but anyways, we do have it implemented. All right. Let's see, going back here. Okay, so we have this, we have this, we have this clarified, this last part. So let's focus on this last thing from Blackbird. Let's see. All right, so we want Blackbird to generate signals. Well, Blackbird never generates signals. Only only BloodHounds generate signals. So actually, let me put this. I'm going to adjust that back to BloodHound. So BloodHound will generate signals in the resolve direction every time price comes back to within 3 ticks of the high-low activator. Yep. Oh, actually, that is not the case here. So let's see. Okay. Here's a point. Here's a place where we can work. So I guess I'll just mark the bars here. So there's one bar where price came and touched the high-low activator. This would be another bar, and another bar. And there we go, so on and so forth. Okay, so there we go. So we got price, kind of bouncing off and on, bouncing off and back on to the high-low indicator there. So, all right, so we can work in this area. So we can see that basically when I put that signal blocker in, it only allowed the first signal through. So we will have to make some adjustments to this. And all right, so I actually don't need this logic anymore. So let's get rid of that. We can just work here. So this signal blocker, right, it's preventing all these additional bounces here afterwards. So we're going to have to scrap the signal blocker. And let's see. Right, okay. So we're going to need to build another kind of filter like this, right? So, because clearly the bar is now above the high-low activator, right? So price isn't bouncing off of it anymore. So what I can do, so what we'll do is we're going to improve our little price comparison, right? So remember, right now what that solver is doing is it's looking at the high of the bar and checking to see if the high of the bar is right within 3 ticks or above. Is this high within 3 ticks, or did the high punch through the high-low activator? Is it above it? But what we also need to check is to make sure that the low of the bar is still below the indicator, right? So clearly, like over here, we can see the low of the bar. So basically, the whole bar is above the high-low indicator, right? And the way we know that is because the low of the bar is above the high-low indicator, right? The low of the bar is above it. So, or another way we know that is the high-low indicator flipped directions, right? So we can do two things. We could either look at the low of the bar compared to the high-low indicator, or we could just check the trend direction of the high-low indicator, right? So I think checking the trend direction of the high-low indicator is going to be the easier solution, although it's not that either one is difficult. They're both really easy to do in BloodHound. So sometimes you're just making mountains out of molehills when you're making these decisions. But but let's see here. Actually, actually, you know what? We already have this done with this solver here. So let's reuse this. So let's reuse this solver instead of making a new one. So there. Let's make that a little adjustment there. So what I'm going to do, right? So this, remember, we have this solver here that's telling us the, whether price is above or below our high-low indicator, so telling us the trend direction. So I will take this solver and couple it with this solver, and it'll filter things out for us. Plug that in. Plug that in. Let's take a look. So, yeah, looking good. So price is too far away from it, and now here, basically the high-low indicator that is on the wrong side. Price is on the wrong side of the high-low indicator, and then it flips again. Yeah, it flips again. All right. So basically we have kind of filtered out, right, this solver here, which is detecting the bar touching the high-low indicator. We kind of applied a filter to it to kind of clean it up a little bit. And so we now want to take that into the AND node. And there we go. Okay, so now there's no more signals here when the high-low indicator, right, has flipped, or when the trend is flipped. Yeah, okay, so let's see, all right, so we can give that a name here. All right, I think that'll do it. Let's take a look. All right, so I guess I'll start from the beginning of the chart here. All right, there's our couple of our touches. And here's the area we just worked in, so that we know that's looking good. And let's see here, where's our 3 a.m. bar? Right there. Okay, great. Our 3 a.m. bar, price is below the high-low, and we had a couple of touches there. Great. All right, there's our 3 a.m. bar, and we have a couple of touches. Great. Looking good so far. And let's see what we have here. Okay, there we go. So actually on our 3 a.m. bar, yeah, price is coming up and touching that high-low indicator. All right, I think that looks good because basically the high-low indicator's in a long state for the rest of the day. Let's check this out here. Where's 3 a.m.? There we go. All right, and yeah, we have one touch. Okay, I think we've got it. Let's see. Yeah, this is the end of my chart. All right. So that was 10 days of testing there. Okay, so with that, let's see. Let me just point out a few things here, a few adjustments that should be, a few adjustments that would need, I would say, further testing. So let's take a look at the logic here. Let's see. Yeah, so this signal extender here, right? So remember, so we have the this is the 3 a.m. signal here. So let's adjust the name here. So we'll just call it the 3 a.m. high-low trend, right? Basically the signal. And then, so we're taking that 3 a.m. bar and we're extending it forward for 50 bars. 50 bars to allow, price to come and touch the high-low indicator, right? So, So basically this system only lasts for 50 bars. So you might need to go in and adjust the signal extender, to go further than 50 bars or less than 50 bars, right? It's going to depend on your chart. If you're using a 20-minute chart, then there's definitely a lot less bars in the day. So, 50 may be enough. Maybe it's too much. But just, that's one of the numbers that you'll want to pay attention to, and adjust. See, one of the other numbers. Yeah, so remember, going back here. So this is the logic that actually identifies the 3 a.m. bar, right? This identifies the 3 a.m. bar, and then this goes, right, so this actually goes 5 bars past 3 a.m., right? So if for some reason, you're trading an instrument that barely moves at 3 a.m., you may need to extend, this test longer than 5 bars, right? So that way you generate at least the trend direction, right? So again, so this, right, basically this logic here, more specifically, this logic here is what's identifying this 3 a.m. bar, and then, if price sits on the high-low activator, for many, many bars, adjusting this signal extender, increasing it from 5 bars to however many bars the market may need before price moves off of the high-low indicator, right? So there we go. So that's another signal extender you may need to adjust. And if you adjust this signal extender, right, if you adjust that number, you need to adjust the signal blocker, right? You notice the signal blocker is also set to block for 5 bars. So if your signal extender, if you increase that to, say, 15 bars, well, the signal blocker also needs to be extended to 15 bars. All right, so the blocker and the extender, they need to match each other for the number of bars that they're operating on, right? So let me put that back. Put these back to 5. Right, so those are really the kind of key nodes to take a look at, right? So we have a signal extender, signal blocker, and another signal extender. All right, well, with that, I think that does it for that question. If I don't see you tomorrow in Blackbird Workshop, then have a good weekend. Hope to see you guys next week, and keep those questions coming for the workshop. All right, guys, see you later. Bye-bye.